Look, I need to tell you about something that just happened in the tennis world that has literally everyone talking. We're not discussing a controversial match. We're not breaking down a surprise upset. We're talking about a moment in a routine interview where a young ATP star said something he probably didn't mean to say, and the entire internet absolutely lost its mind. Holger Rune, the 21-year-old Danish sensation who's been tearing through the ATP Tour, sat down for what was supposed to be a completely standard press obligation. You know the type. Post-practice media session, generic questions, rehearsed answers, nothing interesting, just another box to check before getting back to actual training. The journalist was going through the usual routine, asking about preparation, asking about his draw, asking about recovery from a minor injury. Standard stuff. Rune was answering with the kind of practiced ease you'd expect from someone who's done 1,000 of these interviews before. Then, the journalist asked a throwaway question, the kind designed to fill time and maybe generate a nice quote for a feature article. Something about whether he watches other young players on tour, whether there are any rising women's players whose games he admires. It was meant to be simple. Expected answer would be someone obvious, someone everyone's already talking about. But that's not what happened. Instead, Holger Rune paused. And it wasn't a normal pause. His eyes shifted. His entire demeanor changed. And then he smiled. Not his usual professional smile. This was different. Involuntary. Almost embarrassed. The smile of someone who's just been asked about something they actually care about and hasn't had time to put their professional mask back on. Alex Eala, he said, and the way he said her name, the warmth in his voice, was immediately noticeable to anyone actually listening. I think what she's doing for Filipino tennis is incredible. The way she fights in every match, the way she's had to qualify and work her way through smaller tournaments to get opportunities at the main tour level, it's really impressive. Now here's where things get interesting. The journalist sensed something. You could hear it in their voice. That slight edge of curiosity, the awareness that they might have stumbled onto something more than the standard interview they'd expected. So they pressed. You follow her results? Holger shifted in his seat, and for a split second, the confident top 10 player looked exactly like what he actually was. A 21-year-old who'd just been asked about someone he clearly thought about more than he'd intended to reveal. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us do. But then he continued, and this is where it became absolutely crucial. She has a really complete game. Her movement is excellent, and her mental strength, especially in tight matches, that's something you can't coach. You either have it or you don't. She has it. Let me tell you why this moment was extraordinary. The specificity. Holger Rune wasn't offering generic praise. He wasn't saying she's talented or she works hard, the empty phrases athletes use when they don't actually follow someone's career but want to seem supportive. He was referencing specific aspects of Eala's game, her movement, her mental toughness in pressure situations. These weren't observations from watching one viral highlight clip. This was detailed technical analysis from someone who'd watched her matches, multiple matches, enough to form genuine opinions about her strengths and playing style. The journalist kept going. Have you two ever practiced together or talked about tennis? Holger's expression shifted again. He was clearly aware now that this line of questioning had ventured somewhere he hadn't anticipated, that he'd revealed more than he intended. We've talked a few times at tournaments, just player lounge stuff. But she's really dedicated. I respect that. And then he said the sentence that would become the most analyzed, most discussed, most debated statement in tennis social media for the next week. She's someone I think is going to surprise a lot of people. She has everything it takes to break into the top 50, maybe higher. And when she does, people will realize how special she is. When she does, not if, when. That certainty, that specific prediction, that personal investment in another player's future success. That was the moment the interview transformed from routine media obligation into something the tennis internet would obsess over for days. The interview wrapped up after a few more minutes, returning to safer topics. But the revelation was already done. The words were out there. The tone had been noticed. The smile had been captured on video. Within an hour, the clip was online. Within 2 hours, it had been shared across every corner of the tennis internet. Within 3 hours, Filipino tennis fans had created compilation videos with emotional music. Within 6 hours, tennis gossip accounts were posting side-by-side photos with endless speculation about what this really meant. Holger had accidentally done something that professional athletes are meticulously trained never to do. He'd revealed something genuine, something personal, something that felt to everyone watching like significantly more than just professional respect between peers. And the tennis internet was about to absolutely lose its mind. If there's one thing tennis fans excel at, one skill they've honed to absolute perfection through years of off-season boredom and rain delays, it's detective work. When that interview clip started circulating, the tennis internet transformed into something resembling an elite crime scene investigation unit. Except instead of solving crimes, they were solving the mystery of exactly how deep Holger's admiration for Alex actually went and how long it had been going on without anyone noticing. It started on Twitter, as these things always do. A Filipino tennis fan account posted the clip with a simple caption. Within minutes, the quote tweets began rolling in, each one adding another layer of observation, another detail noticed, another connection made. The way he paused before saying her name. He really said when she does, not if she does. Professional athletes don't talk about other players like this unless there's something more going on. But the real investigation began when someone decided to scroll back through Holger Rune's social media history with the specific goal of finding every interaction he'd ever had with Alex Eala. And that's when things got genuinely interesting. A user found a post from 7 months earlier, a practice photo Alex had shared from a training session in Spain. Standard athlete post, her mid-swing, caption about working hard, a few sponsor tags. Nothing remarkable, except buried in the comments, 73 comments down where nobody would normally scroll, was a simple fire emoji from Holger Rune's verified account. At the time, nobody had noticed. One emoji from one athlete to another could easily disappear into the noise of social media. But now, in the context of that interview, in the light of his obvious familiarity with her game, that single emoji felt like evidence of something that had been hiding in plain sight. Then someone found another interaction, a story Alex had posted 5 months ago, celebrating her first WTA main draw victory. According to a screenshot that somehow leaked, Holger Rune's account was among the story viewers. The detective work intensified. A tennis photographer's archive revealed a photo from Indian Wells months ago. It was a background shot of practice courts, not focused on any particular player. But there, clearly visible if you looked carefully, were Holger Rune and Alex Eala both waiting for courts, engaged in what appeared to be genuine conversation. They were laughing. The body language was relaxed, familiar. The photo had been taken 4 months ago. It had received maybe 40 likes when originally posted. Now it was being shared thousands of times with endless speculation about what they might have been discussing. YouTubers who specialized in covering tennis drama began creating videos with increasingly dramatic titles. The algorithm did its work, pushing these videos to hundreds of thousands of tennis fans, suddenly invested in a narrative of young tennis stars and potential romance. TikTok became its own entire ecosystem of speculation. Video editors created romantic montages using footage from Holger's matches, cut together with footage from Alex's matches, set to trending songs about secret admiration. One particularly viral video compared their playing styles, noting surprising similarities, suggesting maybe they'd discussed strategy together. That video got 2.3 million views. Reddit's tennis community created a mega thread compiling every interaction, every possible connection, every tournament where they'd been in the same city at the same time. Someone discovered they'd both trained briefly at the Muratoglu Academy years ago, though at different times, leading to speculation about whether they'd heard of each other even back then. The Filipino tennis community was experiencing something entirely unprecedented. Alex Eala had put their country on the tennis map through her achievements. But this was different. This was one of the ATP's biggest young stars, a top 10 player, publicly praising her with a level of specificity and warmth that felt deeply personal. Filipino sports talk shows devoted entire segments to debating what it meant. Morning radio programs in Manila discussed it. It wasn't just tennis news anymore. It was entertainment news, relationship news, national pride news, all rolled into one irresistible story. But not everyone was celebrating. As the speculation reached fever pitch, a backlash began to form that would raise serious questions about how this entire situation was being covered. Some of Alex's most dedicated fans began questioning why this was even a story worth this level of attention. "She's an incredible player on her own," one viral tweet read. "She doesn't need validation from a male player to be worthy of attention. The fact that this is what finally gets her international recognition is honestly sad." The tweet got 15,000 likes and sparked an entirely secondary debate about whether the overwhelming attention on Holger's comments was actually undermining Alex's individual achievements by making her notable only in relation to a man's opinion of her. Danish fans had their own complicated reactions. Some found it endearing that their tennis star showed this genuine human side. Others worried it was becoming a distraction. Holger should focus on his game, not on WTA players. Read one comment. "He's had an inconsistent season. This is the last thing he needs dominating his media coverage." Tennis journalists found themselves in an unusual position. Was this a legitimate story worth covering? One respected reporter tweeted about covering tennis for 20 years, saying players admire each other all the time, but the way Holger spoke about Alex, that combination of specific technical knowledge and genuine personal investment in her future success, was something they'd honestly never heard before. The speculation reached absolute fever pitch when someone discovered that both players were entered in an upcoming combined event in 2 weeks. The possibility of them being at the same tournament, potentially giving interviews where they might be asked about each other, potentially being photographed together with everyone now watching, became the tennis internet's most anticipated subplot of the entire season. Fan accounts began countdown clocks. Betting markets that normally only covered match outcomes began taking wagers on whether they'd be photographed together. The whole situation had taken on a life completely beyond anything either player could have anticipated. But here's what nobody expected: the conversation that would emerge about whether this obsession was actually harmful, about privacy, about the way women's tennis gets covered differently, about what happens when genuine human moments get transformed into content and speculation. Because while thousands of people were creating fan edits and writing speculative fiction about two young athletes, the actual people at the center of this story had to navigate tournaments, media obligations, and their careers while the entire tennis world watched their every move, analyzed their every word, and projected narratives onto them that neither had asked for. This is what happens when athletes forget, even for a moment, that everything they say will be dissected. When a genuine smile and a thoughtful compliment become evidence in an internet investigation. When admiration turns into ammunition for content creators. And when two young people trying to succeed in one of the world's most demanding sports suddenly find themselves at the center of a story neither of them wrote, about feelings neither of them confirmed, being discussed by millions of people neither of them will ever meet. The question everyone should be asking isn't whether Holger Rune admires Alex Eala. He clearly does. He said so himself. The question is whether the tennis world's response to that admiration says more about us than it does about them.